In this lesson, we are going to learn to prove a triangle is a right triangle. The converse of the Pythagorean theorem states that so that we can prove a triangle is a right triangle. So for any triangle with the sides ABC, which just means that there are three sides to the triangle, okay, that there are three sides to the triangle, if A is squared plus B is squared, then it does equal C squared. So the Pythagorean theorem proves that a triangle is a right triangle. Then the angle between A and B measures 90 degrees. So between A and B, that means between the two legs, the angle is 90 degrees. And the triangle is a right triangle. So what does that mean? That means that if we are given side lengths like we see 3, 4, and 6, and we want to know, will these side lengths create a right triangle? Let's take a look. We would use our Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then we have to come back to the numbers that were given that we're trying to prove if it's a right triangle and identify a, b, and c. Well, C is the easiest one to identify because C is always the longest. The hypotenuse, remember, is C, and hypotenuse has to be longer than either of the legs. So we can call 6 C. And then our legs, remember, it doesn't matter which one's A and which one's B. So I can just label this one A and this one B. And then we go back to our Pythagorean theorem and substitute in these numbers and see if both sides are equal, then it would prove that this is a right triangle. So we'd say 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 6 squared. That's our question currently. We're trying to see if this works. So 3 squared is 9 plus 4 squared, which is 16. Does that equal 6 squared, which is 36? Well, I add 9 plus 16 and I get 25. Equals 36. That does not work because 25 does not equal 36. So this is not a right triangle. It is not a right triangle because a squared plus b squared does not equal c squared. And we can prove that by using the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, let's look at another example. Which of this set of numbers could represent the three sides of a right triangle? As we're learning to decide if three numbers do form a right triangle, we have to use the Pythagorean theorem. So we can come to our first set of numbers and see, okay, does 36, 84, and 91, does that create the Pythagorean theorem? Does that make a right triangle? Okay, so I can say, okay, I have to figure out which ones are my legs. So the two shortest ones are my legs. And the longest one is my hypotenuse. So I can say A, B, C. Short, short, long. C is always the longest. So then I can throw that into the Pythagorean theorem. 36 squared plus 84 squared equals 91 squared. That's my question. Does this work? Okay, so on your calculator, you can even type in 36 squared plus 84 squared, and you get 7,056. Does that equal 91 squared? Okay, evaluate that. You get 8,281. Okay, so we don't have to always write down each step, especially as they're large numbers. So I look and I say these do not equal, so that is not going to create a right triangle. So that one's not an option. So then we come over here to the next set and we have to go through and say 8 squared, short, short equals long is what we're testing. So we're trying to prove if these numbers create a right triangle. So then you go through and you 8 squared plus 24 squared. And what do you get? Let's go through and do that work. Okay, so when I evaluate those exponents, 8 squared is 64, 24 squared is 576, and 25 squared is 625, which means that 64 plus 576 is not equal to 625. So those also do not create a right triangle. Go ahead and pause and show your work for the other two sets of numbers to see if you can figure out if these sets do create a right triangle. Okay, so first thing I'm going to look at, did you set the problems up? Short plus short equals the longer. Short plus short equals the longer one. So I test those out. And then I use my exponents and I come up with 32 squared is 1,024. 60 squared is 3,600. And 68 squared is 4,624. I add everything on my left side together, and I get 4,624. And then on the right side, I also have 4,624. Both sides are equal. So yes, those numbers, 32, 60, and 68, do create a right triangle. Okay, we always want to test all of our numbers though. 51 squared is 2,601. 67 squared is 4,489. And 85 squared is 7,225. Okay, add both numbers on my left side together, and I get 7,098 on the left. 85 squared is 7,225. Those are not equal, so that one is not a right triangle. Okay, so in order to prove if three numbers create a right triangle, you have to use your Pythagorean theorem, and you just substitute in the values that you're given in a set of numbers. The key is just double checking that the numbers are leg plus equals hypotenuse. Leg plus leg equals hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse is always the longest measure. All right, work through all the problems in this lesson. If you have questions or need additional examples, please reach out. See you soon.